Okay, here we go. This is a video. I'm going to try to make it short, and I'm going to attempt to walk through macros because, again, I'm repeating. Your VBA is sucking my mind, and please get it for beginners, please. Okay, so here's what I normally do. I've probably had a video like this before. I'm almost sure I have, but I'm going to use this very simple little illustrative example where we have a very fake thing that doesn't really work. Where we, whatever, that didn't really mean anything. It's a fake fees and IDC. And I pretend that the fees and the IDC, interest during construction, I don't care, are a function of the debt. So when we're going to put some capex in, we have a little bit of a S curve, an accumulative F curve with this spark line, and we have some capex, and we spend our capex, and we've got to pay fees. We've got to raise money for the fees. It's like when you buy your whatever Ferrari, electric Ferrari, and you've got to borrow money for the bank, and the bank says, okay, you can borrow 100,000, but the fees are 50%. And then you have to borrow 150,000. So you say, okay, fine, Mr. Banker, I'll borrow 150,000. But the bank says, oh, no, your fees went up to 75,000, and they're going down the increment from, it's now 25,000 instead of 50,000. And then they're going, and then, so you borrow 175,000. The bank says, no, my fees go up. And Excel doesn't handle it. Well, it handled it really bad, okay? I'm going to use this example, so I'm going to put the fees, the debt below. The debt is computed from the debt is computed from the total of the capex plus our fees, just like our Ferrari example. But the debt is computed that, but then the fees are computed downstairs from the debt. And when you do this, and we better, do some of our absolutely crucial kind of things, which is to put the stuff over at the side, then I've got my generic macros file open, which I'm going to explain, and then we take our fees and we fix them and multiply those by the debt, and we have a circular reference, okay? And that's about the easiest circular reference I can come up with. But before I do that, I'm going to go through some macro issues. And the macro issues are going to be, one, just how do we format, using macros to format something, using macros with a very simple goal seek and making absolutely sure you put your range names in the macros. Then we'll make a macro to solve this problem with a copy and paste bad way. And then we'll make a copy and paste a good way. And I'll do it with a couple of different techniques. And I'll give you some of my bad opinions and my bad forms for macros. But I'm going to do that. And then in the next video, we're going to switch from macros to user-defined functions. And we're going to show you the difference between the macro and the user-defined function. And we'll use it to solve this simple problem. And then I'm going to make another third macro video. And on that one, I'm going to start moving into a little more advanced topics with the user-defined function and show you that you really can do it. Now, okay, enough. Let's just get to it. Okay, now I have this generic macros open, and this, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to first go all the way to the very, very beginning, and I'm going to customize ribbon and take our developer away. I'm going to pretend we do not have our secret handshake, and oh, we're not kind of very sophisticated because we don't even have it. Okay, whoops. The macro button is still here. I thought that would get rid of the macro button. Okay, well it didn't. All right. Now, right now, maybe it's because who knows what. Now let's format. Shift Control F. Now, when you're really, really fast, and you say, I like a different underline, so I'm going to go up to the home key. I'm going to use this underline because I don't know, that my style of underline doesn't seem to be very used much. Okay, and you want to then, or you can, and then to paint it to the rest of it, you could somehow go to this file and whoops, oh no, the home page. And if you ever use the paintbrush, I just cannot understand why you'd ever use the paintbrush. And you can do it much faster than me, but okay, you paint it. How slow, how ridiculous that is. Let's take that away. So our first use of a macro, which is simply to understand that the advantage of using VBA for me with a Excel file is that Excel does have to work for you. Now, I used to program in something called Fortran and make my models. Who cares about that? Why would you give a crap about that anyway? And in C++, I know they're probably much more advanced stuff, and everybody now wants to use Python. Silly arguments over ridiculous nuances in language. The advantage for VBA is that you go to, so first please go to the options, and once you go to the option, goes to customize ribbon and click on the developer tab. Do that first. And then if you didn't have this kind of video record button before, you'll have it. Now, if you want to make your own shortcut key for formatting and not waste a whole bunch of absurd time on the paintbrush, you start a macro, and then here's the big thing, you don't move. And we'll put underline. How's that? If I could spell. And then we're going to just, attach a shortcut to this. I'm going to make it a capital H, and then all we do is we go to the Home tab, we go to the thing for the underline, we find this one, and then we do the biggest thing, we stop. And Excel now has made a little program for us, and we go to the developer and the macros, and we edit it, and it put some stuff here. It did a little programming for us, and now the good news is, if I press Shift Control right arrow twice and Shift Control H, I've got my macro, and that's how I make it. I collect a bunch of these things, keep it in this little generic macros file, which you remember, I hope I'm improving this generic macros file a lot, I hope. Let's leave this one in. Let's just color the sheet. Okay, I put a little thing up here now. Okay, but that generic macros file has a lot of little things. That's the first macro lesson. And why in the heck is it taking so long? This is really upsetting me. Okay, it's because I have the record button on. Okay, whatever. That was ridiculous how long it took. Okay, fine, whatever. Enough of that. Now the second macro we're going to do is before we put our copy and paste, I said up here we have a target amount of debt of 720. No, we compute the debt. This is just a sum function. Put a little thing up. This is just the sum of all of the debt over the period. I see. I put a little data table here. That's why it took so long. And then I probably, when I go to my formulas, I had it automatic except the other thing. So whatever. Okay, we're going to illustrate issues with that a little bit later. Okay, so I want to now, we've got target debt, which we input of 840. I've got my computed debt, and if you press F2, you can see where it comes from, or Control and square bracket, you can see where it comes from, or alternate U, this thing I haven't finished, you can kind of see where it comes from. Okay, this is just an input. Okay, whatever. All right. No, but it had a range name. Okay. Now we're going to make a goal seek, and we're just going to change the gearing or the leverage or whatever you want to call it, so that we can arrive at our target debt. So it looks like we can afford more gearing, more leverage, and the difference is just here. So whenever you have a goal seek, you set this up. But frankly, the most dramatic kind of macro you can make, and the first one you can make, I've talked about this too much before, it was such a big date in my life, in the 90s or whenever, is when you make your first macro. This macro is going to be a little bit different. You can start recording, okay, just like we did before, and you can call it goal seek, but don't ever put a space, and this time you don't need a button here. And then what you can do is go to the data and what if analysis and go to goal seek, and then you set the difference. I'm always compute a little difference, so this can always be 0. If this is always 0, then you don't have to worry about it. You can also make a little adjusted macro so that you can put a little difference in, and then you change the gearing, some input that drives everything, okay, and then solves it for you, and then you stop recording the macro. That's our second macro. Okay, and then here's the classic problem with that. Now I'm going to press Control and F3, and I'm going to delete all of these stupid range names I had in here. Okay, when I make this macro, this time I didn't put a little shortcut in here, so we go to the developer tab and just collect a little button, and then we can assign it to the goal seek macro. Now this goal seek macro, the next thing, if I would, what should we change? Let's change the cost of this project to 1,000. Okay, when we change the cost, now we have a difference, and the nice thing is we can just click on this button and it redoes the goal seek. We don't have to do, it's just, basically I should have really introduced things. So far, macros are just saving us a little bit of time and not allowing us to go up to get the paintbrush, or not having us go to data table, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more. Okay? Now, if you go to the developer tab, you can go to macros and do it this way, or you can press the alternate and F8, and you can see your macros. And with the goal seek, what it always does, it started doing this recently, I don't know why it does that, and it says set E9, which is the difference, to 0 by changing E4. Now, if you would go up here and insert a line, because a lot of times you're going to insert a line, or if you insert a column, I press Shift spacebar, Control spacebar to do that, sort of, probably good. Now when we press the button, here I'm going to save the file. Oh, but when I save the file, I'm going to not save it as a macro free file. I'm going to go and save it as a macro enabled file. Okay. And here, the real thing about macros that we're going to get into in just a minute, you know, I told you before, your grandmother probably uses Excel. Your 10-year-old should be starting to use Excel, and everybody does it, and it's a great whatever, I don't care. I'm not going to say that. They stole it from Lotus, who stole it from VisiCalc and all that stuff. Here, everybody uses it, but it's got some very strict limitations. It's got some very real limitations. And macros and user-defined functions essentially allow you to get out of these Excel limitations. It's a great way to get data in. You get your bank statement data and all that on it. Now, when we do this, it gives you a debug. When you get a debug, you say, shoot. This time, I can't remember how I did it. I went to edit or something and made the colors a little different. I think that probably helps. And the problem is E9 is no longer the E9 is no longer the thing, right? Can I do this? I should have done it here, maybe. Okay, E9 is no longer our the difference. It's F10. And what we need to do is use a range name so that when you insert a column, there's not going to be the E9 changes, whatever, the name changes. Like you change your name if you got married or something like that. And what you can do here is, this time I'm going to go and delete this. Now, if you have this debug, it's kind of a pain. What you can do is go up to this square button and just say, get rid of this debug just for a minute. Or you can close the whole thing and all that. That's what I used to do. And then you can select these two areas and press Shift Control F3. That makes a range name on the difference. And then you go up to this det, because that's the other one, and you press Shift Control F3 again and get det. And then if you press Control F3, you can see those two things, and you can even see where it points to. So you've just renamed the cell. This up here, this one's the name box, and you can see now it's named, instead of D4 or D5, it's renamed. We changed our name, and then we changed the name difference up here. The difference is always a problem to me because I have so many differences. And then you just go to the macro. You go to assign macro and edit, or you can press alternate and F11, and you change the E9 to just put the word in. Now, it doesn't matter if you capitalize it or not. This is difference, and this is det. Okay? And that's all you do. And it's one of the most useful things of a macro. You almost can stop here. Now let's put 1,200 in and see what kind of gearing we get. Whoops, that was 112. Okay, and then there's a big difference, so we run our macro. Now, oh, sorry. Now, you can change this. Oh, shit. Okay, you can put a little spinner button in and assign this macro. I wonder if I just screwed up everything. You can assign this to the goal seed, so that's a fancy little thing. And then you can, every time you change the little button, it's just right here. We just pressed assign the macro, and that goes to the goal seed. So that's macro number 2. Now, let's go to macro number 3. And how are we doing? Is that, how much? 19 minutes. I should almost save the file, but I'm going to quickly do it. Maybe I can quickly do it. Now, when you have a circular reference, oh my gosh, I got some junk here. What you want to do is up here, the thing you never want to do, not never, but if you do this, if you multiply the det by our the fee by our fee percent, and you're going to get this circular reference. And this, I deleted those range names, and I shouldn't have, but so we have our fee and IDC percent. Let's change our let's put our cost back up. Okay, we can still do our cost. It's not liking the goal seek quite as much when we're doing this now, which is the big subject. Okay, if you have this circular reference, you can go to File and then go to Options. And when you go to Options, you can go to Formulas. And when you go to Formulas, you can press this Enable Iterative Calculation. And then I'm going to, oops, I didn't press the F4. How criminal of me. And if you're really good, you press the F4 really quickly 3 times. And then press Shift-Control-R. And what the heck happened? Did I do it wrong? And let's delete that and redo that. In fact, what I just did, perhaps, I'm not sure if it was a perfect example of some of the things that can go wrong. That all seems to work. Okay, and now we have too much debt. Let's put our target debt to, we are going to try to run our goal seek, and when we run our goal seek, it goes crazy. It doesn't work. Okay, and even worse, we can, I guess I'm going to press end. Even worse, I've got to, let me put our 80% back here. Even worse, when I would, in my debt, if I would make this 1 divided by 0 or make an error, okay, it will go crazy. It'll give me divide by zeros, and I'm pressing Control Z, and it gives me more zeros. And if you have a gigantic program, it's really going to mess you up. And what you could do, perhaps, is just for a minute take this out, and then you can press Alt equal to get it back. But when you do that, if you have a big program, this is a lot messier. Trust me, I know that because I messed it up a lot. So the iteration button is really no good. Maybe Excel one day will switch it. Maybe they'll fix it one day. But they haven't. It seems that they haven't for a very long time. So instead of that, what we're going to try to do is fix this one. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back to the options and go to formulas and take this off, and then we're going to make 2 little macros, okay? And the macros, if we could imagine that this 2.61 would be fixed, notice that I have a little fixed column, okay? This 2.61 is fixed, and then let's compute the fees, but instead of going downstairs to compute the fees where we go, oops, the fees go downstairs, let's just kind of do our normal thing where we'll put our fee percent in here and recompute the fees, okay? And when we recompute this, now this is a stylized version, and we'll take you through some more real examples. We're going to take the debt and multiply that by our fee percent, so that we'll just put that here. Now everything is not working because we have this circular reference, but if we delete all our circular reference, get rid of the whole thing, then we've got a fee percent, which is, I hope, right. And then if we would copy and paste special as values, I put Alt ES, whatever the heck it is. Then we get our number, okay? But once we do that, then we go up here, and instead of computing this, we need a fixed value, and we just put our fixed value in here. Okay, and now we have a difference. Now, if you would go to the original macro and let's call this copy, paste. Okay, and if you go up to your original macro, and this time I'm moving around a little after I recorded, which is, I don't think is so bad. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing. It's always from computed to range special value fixed. Okay, now oops, and now I'm going to stop recording. That difference is a little not quite 0, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm calling this computed, and this one fixed. And we know that if you select this area and Shift Control F3, we know we're going to have range names in here. Okay, and good. Okay, and now I'm going to put a classic copy and paste macro that you have to, you're gonna whoops. You have to call optimize, and you have to be really, really fancy in naming it. Now, when I do these macros, okay, some people might have some kind of rules for doing them or something like that. We'll press OK and attach that to the macro, and then let's look at what happened. We look at this macro, and we have a copy paste, and it says select that, go to the right, copy it, and again and then this one it says go back to the end. Now I don't need to do that. Takes a little practice to realize when Excel's you accidentally, I moved it, not you, when you did this, and then we said, well, this range name, again, if you press Control F3, you can see that what we're doing is going to the computed, and now this range name takes the whole area, okay, and then you then you go to the one that says computed. Now that's the whole range, so that if you kind of get used to this, you don't have to take it all the way to the right. And then you put, we're going to copy this and copy it into fixed. Okay, and now when we do that one, if I press it again, ooh, it went down to 0. But that might not be 0. I press it a whole bunch of times. Now I'm not going to use the goal seq right now. I'm going to change the fee percent to 20%, and I get a difference, and I press the button once. It went down a lot, but not quite. It's kind of like that Ferrari example. I go down again, not quite. Keep going down, keep going down, keep going down. Now, you could do this a couple of different ways, about 20 different ways, maybe more than 20. Let's do it the most classic ways. You go to assign macro if you want this time and just press the edit button. And then you say, no, let's just do this. Okay, let's just say we'll put do while, and then put a range. Now, oops, and I didn't finish this. This difference up here, that's what we want. Let's name this range. Select the two things, press Shift Control F3, press Enter, and we've got a difference. That's a range name now. You see up here, that's a range name. And I happen to have the VBA open, and we put diff. And if you do that, remember, you don't have to worry about the majuscule, the capital letters or anything like that. And then you have to tell Excel, it goes around and around, and you tell it where to stop. You could also do this, you could also have, and then you say, let's go around and around as long as it's not equal to 0. These little things with a less than and a greater than are not equal to 0. Okay, so I hope you're not too mad at this one. Okay, this is the most classic kind of thing you can do, but it really is not very good. Okay, you could also put something like this and put WEND. It does the same thing. Let's just make sure that works. Maybe it doesn't work, and it's going around, and it's now making it exactly 0. So let's change this to 1,200. Then we get a difference, and we click on the button. Now that's a slow way. That's a horrible way. Of course, I used to do it like this. It's a horrible way because you're actually copying and pasting. There's a lot better way to do this. And when you do it a little bit better, you would come on. What am I doing? Get there. Oh, okay. What in the heck? All right, to do things better and to see when you open somebody else's file, you'll see kind of how they do this. They do something like this. Right click on the button, go to assign macro. That's what I just had. Go down to the one that says copy and paste, edit it, and then I'm going to copy it. Now, when I copy it, be careful, be very, very careful. Okay, and when you are being very, very careful. Oh God. Okay, let's delete this thing and let's put fixed and put dot value. Why you have to do that? I don't know. And put then after that, I'm going to temporarily put a 0 here, and I'm going to put dot value, and I'm going to move this and just click right here, and then we're going to take out the rest of this crap down here. Okay, and this time I'm going to put do while, and then we put loop here. Remember, if you're proud of yourself because you use that. People, maybe because you didn't have to go through the hell of a computer class in 1975 with cards, you're impressed with this kind of stuff. But it's the easiest part. It's easier than the rest of Excel now. After we do this, if you remember, it kind of clunked along. Now we're going to assign this macro. Uh-oh, I didn't do it right. It said, dang, I didn't put the number 1 here. Oh, yes, okay. Those are the kind of mistakes that he probably was so angry when you make those kind of mistakes and you're not used to them, and it's not as easy as kind of Excel sometimes. So I agree. That would have really kind of messed you up. Now let's put 1,200 in here, and let's run this one more time. Okay, done. All right. Yes. No, I'm gonna do one more idiotic thing. This is something that I've never done before, but we could do. We could put something like do while. We could put range. We could, instead of calling this diff, we could put a variable called diff1. We'll be really careful. I guess that's okay. diff. Let's put 3 f's equal 999. And then we can do, instead of do while diff doesn't equal 0, what we could do is, I've watched this not work. If this doesn't work, I'll just delete that. Did I have that many f's? Do while diff doesn't equal 0. The first time it doesn't. And then you're going to, over here, you're going to put diff equal, we're going to put new diff equal worksheet function dot sum, and we'll put range fixed. Okay, and then, oh, what did I do? I didn't put this in. And then we'll take the same thing and we'll make fixed. So what we're doing here, which is an important little thing in macros, is you can find any function except xnpv, which Excel is screwed up, those idiots, and you have to kind of do it yourself. Fixed, and this is computed. Okay, and we can just call that diff. Okay, and then we can do it like this. So what's going to happen now? It's going to start with a big difference, and then it's going to say, well, when it's not equal to 0, keep copying and keep trying. Okay, I'm afraid of this. I'm pausing it. This was remarkable. I didn't even have to pause it. Let's put 1,200. I had just changed it. And now we run this button that we call optimize. And it works. So again, let's look at this assign macro, and let's understood what we did with a little bit of a fancier macro. We made a variable name, not with range names, and we assigned that and said, oh, that's not equal to 0. Well, the first time it's not, and we put copy the fix to computed, and then we just use that thing called worksheet function, and we can put find, we can put index, we can put lookup, we can put XIRR, all of those things. If you put up here test equal worksheet dot XIRR, and then you could put in your range name, you can put the range you have, and it'll just do it. So the nice thing about this is you can kind of redo a whole bunch of things in Excel. This is a tiny little bit more advanced, okay? And I'm gonna stop this right now. Bye. And we're gonna go to